he is what he is. It's Stefon Diggs. You know, we know he is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, receiver in the game right now, and I trust him implicitly. I love that guy. He works his tail off.
It's never personal for me. It's business for me. Like, the next team, they in front of me, they in my way. Where I'm trying to go, what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to stack wins. But the next team is always the next team. But there's never no extra incentive when I play Tennessee. I like Tennessee, Nashville, hot chicken, and all.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
It's not just the hot chicken in Tennessee that is hot. It is Stefon Diggs and the entire Buffalo Bills offense. Listen, it is noon on Peacock, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere. My name is Matthew Berry. He's Connor Rogers. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour right here on Peacock and wherever you get your podcasts. Man, how about those? How about them Bills?
Monday Night Football doubleheader.
Yep.
A lot of points if you like the Bills. Good amount of points if you like the Eagles. Where else to start but Buffalo?
Yeah. I don't like the doubleheader. I'll just say this right now.
Well, simultaneously.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm a fan.
No. It's usually Monday you just buckle down and you focus on one game.
I'm okay with a doubleheader. Give me back-to-back games. Don't make me overlap. I'm already distracted enough.
The good news is, unless you were focused on just one player and they probably weren't playing in the fourth quarter, this game was out of reach pretty early.
It really was.
Yeah, the Bills winning 41-7 against the former number one seed in the AFC, the Tennessee Titans. And we'll get to some of their problems in a bit, but let's start with Buffalo.
Sure.
Josh Allen.
He's very good.
He's pretty good.
There you go.
There's a
Hashtag
reason
analysis.
He was the number one quarterback drafted in fantasy by a wide margin this year. He has lived up to the hype. But I think just as much as he's good, this connection to Stefon Diggs, friend of the show, is absolutely insane right now.
Yeah, the chief ball officer,
yes,
Stefon Diggs, friend of the show there. Look, what else is there to say about Josh Allen? His 140 points with Stefon Diggs through the first two games, right? That's the most all-time by a quarterback-wide receiver duo. He's got the most points per game by any quarterback through up to week 3 since 2019. So he is not only on pace for a historic season, but he is justifying being the number one overall pick in 2 quarterback leagues. He's justifying being the number one quarterback. I mean, there's what analysis you want? Like, if you have Josh Allen,
good
you're
for
psyched.
you.
You're not trading him. If you have Stefon Diggs, who has the most fantasy points through the first 2 weeks by any wide receiver in the last 20 years, he is awesome. A 41% target share against the Tennessee Titans, back-to-back 100-yard games for Stefon Diggs. You see the footage right here. There we go. There's Josh Allen. I'm scrambling around. Where's 14? There's 14. Easy peasy. What are you going to do? That is an actual, and now, here goes Josh Allen back again. This probably isn't interesting to people that are listening on the podcast, but all I got to tell you is this is just amazing footage. This is one of the reasons to watch this on Peacock, because you can just watch Stefon Diggs just absolutely blow past people in the NFL. It's great. I do think there's no fantasy takeaway here other than this. If you have either one of these guys, you're thrilled. I do think that it was somewhat of a unique situation. At home, Monday Night Football, 10 days to prepare, and no Gabriel Davis in this game. We talked about this on Fantasy Football pregame Sunday morning. I said with Michael Smith, I said, I'm hearing from my sources 99% chance Gabriel Davis does not play. He suffered that injury late in the week. They wanted him to go. They took it smart. We'll see what happens with him over the course of the week. But so without him there, 41% target share. And I think what this game did is it really proved that for as great as the Bills are offensively, Connor, fantasy-wise, it's really 3 guys.
Yep.
It's Josh Allen, and Stefon Diggs, and Gabriel Davis. We can talk about Singletary in a second, but if ever there was a game that Isaiah McKenzie should have done something, if ever there was a game that Jake Kumaro, who ran the second most snaps and the second most routes for Buffalo wide receivers, should somebody else should. They put up 41 at home against the Titans, and no other Bills pass catcher really did anything. Dawson Knox is a touchdown-dependent tight end. You want to roll him out there because you waited on a tight end. I don't have an issue with that. But it just feels like if we're looking for fantasy value beyond those 3 big guys, consistent fantasy value beyond Allen, Diggs, and Gabe Davis, doesn't seem like it's there.
There was a stretch in the middle of this game where they just threw the ball over and over and over again. They didn't even think about running because why should they? They are that overpowering Josh Allen to Stefon Diggs, and when Gabe Davis is back, you know he's going to get his. So when you look at this backfield right now, I'm sure people that drafted Motor Singletary are still holding out hope that he can be productive, maybe as a flex. But how do you even handle this backfield? Are you getting to the point where you almost ignore it because Zach Moss isn't going to be overly effective? James Cook, they're trying to get him involved. Is there anything there?
I still hold out hope for Devin Singletary, but and I think he could have gotten. I think if he'd gotten a touchdown, he was on his way to a touchdown, and then there was a penalty, so it gets called back. That would have been a touchdown. The touchdown to Gilliam, if that goes to him, right?
It's a fluke.
It's a fluke. Maybe the narrative's a little bit different, but again, a home game in which the Bills were up 41. The Bills won 41-7. This game was never in doubt. They're up big, and Devin Singletary gets 6 carries, 6 for 19. They were passing at will. He doesn't really have a lot of passing game usage. He got 4 targets in this one. They got out so big early that Singletary got pulled, and you saw some James Cook, and they got Mouse involved. But Singletary, to me, is more of a flex than a count on a top 20 running back. And in your flex, generally speaking, you're probably going to want, unless it's a deeper league, you're probably going to want a wide receiver. So I'm not dropping Devin Singletary, but again, if he can't get it done in a home game where they're winning 41-7, when are you going to feel good about starting Devin Singletary? And this is the point I'm going to make, and I'm going to make it a couple times this show. It's not about production. It's about knowing when to get that production. Because there'll be games over the course of this year where Isaiah McKenzie or Devin Singletary or James Cooks or Dawson Knox, where any of these other complimentary Bills players have good fantasy games. They absolutely will. That offense is too good. He's too good. Josh Allen's too good. He's going to get everyone involved. So there'll be good games. It's just knowing when to start Isaiah McKenzie, knowing when to start, when it's going to be a Devin Singletary game. I just don't think there's going to be that. I think it's going to be hard to figure out when that is. And I don't know that the upside is worth the inconsistency you're going to get from these guys because that offense is so funneled through those 3 guys. So for me, I'm holding on to Singletary and I guess Knox and McKenzie, but
picking your spots.
And I think it's more depth. And I think that's what I learned last night for the Bills is fantasy-wise, it's those 3 guys.
On the flip side, the Titans, who in the past have had premium talent that you can rely on, Derrick Henry, of course, some of it's no longer there. Man, a little scary right now in Tennessee. Derrick Henry, 13 rushes, 25 yards, 1 touchdown. He has been held to single-digit fantasy points in each of his first 2 games. The fear factor for the Tennessee offense has to be pretty high right now, right, Matthew?
It looks awful.
Yeah.
Again, they ran into a buzzsaw that is the Bills. That's one of the best teams in the NFL. They're Super Bowl favorites. But they also lost to the Giants.
Yeah, they look bad. Listen,
the Giants are 2-0. Maybe the Giants have a better defense than we're giving them credit for. But Derrick Henry's looked slow. He has not looked like King Henry.
Yep.
Let's be clear. And there's nothing in the passing game. You saw them start out the game with a couple of passes to Trailon Burks, and we'll talk about him in a second. But Derrick Henry has not been the guy that we'd hoped for. Under 9 fantasy points in 2 straight games. He's not getting a ton of work. He got 13 carries in this game. He's not being involved in the passing game. We'd hope that there would be an increased usage in the passing game, and they're going to have to try to get creative with Derrick Henry because teams are basically saying, we're not scared of Ryan Tannehill. We're not scared of, with Burks of Woods or any of these receivers. And so without A.J. Brown there to stretch the offense and the offensive line, look, Taylor Lewan went out of this game early, so certainly that's not ideal. But when game script goes against the Tennessee Titans, when they get blown out the way they did in this game, what do you do? That's the problem, is that how game script dependent is Derrick Henry. Because, again, he doesn't have passing game usage. Boy, oh boy. I'm nervous. I'm nervous on the big dog. Now, I think they'll get him going. But the thing you have to think about is look at this upcoming schedule now for the Tennessee Titans, right? They this week I think they play the Colts? No, they play. Hang on. I'll give me 1 second. Let me pull this up. Because they're scheduled the next 3 weeks here. So
the division's weak as a whole.
They play the Raiders, then the Commanders, then the Colts. Those are the next 3. Those are all 3 games they could lose. They'll probably beat my Commanders because, life's unfair. But Raiders are a pretty good 0-2 team and desperate. So you got the Raiders coming in, then you got my Commanders probably going to be 1-2 after they lose to the Eagles this week, and then the Colts, they're going to be desperate, and then you got the Commanders in week 5. I don't have the schedule memorized here, but the fact of the matter is they've got 3 losable games. They could be 0-5, they could be 1-4 heading into their bye. And so at that point, if they're 1-4, even if they're 2-3 or 0-5, all of which is within the realm of possibility, do they make the switch to Malik Willis? Which, by the way, Malik Willis does not look ready for prime time. I will say that I think if you're in a deep 2-quarterback league, I don't mind grabbing Malik Willis and stashing him because I do think the Tannehill era is coming to an end sooner rather than later in Tennessee. But and I think Malik Willis will have fantasy value because of his rushing. But just from a pure NFL prospect perspective, Connor, you can speak to this.
Sure.
He was raw coming out of Liberty.
Absolutely. Transferred from Auburn to Liberty, and he's raw as a passer. All the talent's there. But here's the thing I'm wondering, Matthew, at Tennessee. If their season goes in the toilet, like you're saying, they have to find out about Malik Willis because they could be going to the draft with a high pick in a quarterback class. So I agree with you that this could be the Malik Willis show because they have to see what he could do this year.
And then you're like, what am I doing with Derrick?
So scale back to Derrick Henry, right? You just laid it all out. Do you sell now while there's anything there? There might be somebody in your league that goes, it's Derrick Henry. It's going to work out eventually, knowing how the forecast looks. Or do you hold on because you paid a premium in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on every league is different. I would certainly dangle him. I would certainly be like, especially if I'm sitting there, if I'm in a fantasy league where I'm 1-1 or I'm 0-2, I'm nervous about Derrick Henry and his role in this offense. He'll have some good games. He's just too good. Yep. He'll have some 2-touchdown games because that's just sort of who he is. But if I didn't trade him now this week, I might does he have a big game against the Raiders this week? And so if he does, then that becomes sort of interesting, right? The game is in Tennessee, which is helpful. So West Coast team traveling east for a 1 o'clock game against the Titans. I could see Henry having a nice game against the Raiders. I think you can run on Las Vegas. And so after that, I might be like, hey.
Sell high.
Sell high, quote unquote. Yes, sell high, because his value is so low right now. But yes, should I be panicked about Derrick Henry? Yes, 100%, because he is seemingly, he looks slow and old and game script dependent. And this is a team that I don't think is going to be leading in a lot of games that they were last year.
All right, the other game, Eagles taking
One
down.
last thing on this game, I just want to very quickly, is Trailon Burks. It was nice to see him. He led the Titans in targets, tied for the most routes, and I wonder if he is this year's a poor man's, I want to underline, poor man's Jamar Chase in this sense. He wasn't the prospect that Jamar Chase was coming out of college, of course, right? I'm not saying he's got that kind of talent. He doesn't have that kind of offense or quarterback with him. But Trailon Burks was a guy that was drafted in the first round, so had some nice draft capital, was a prospect that we liked coming out of college, and then had a poor preseason, and so his ADP dropped during the fantasy draft process, and then it was just like, oh yeah, that's right, this guy's a talented guy. That's what happened with Jamar Chase, where he had some bad drops in the preseason, everyone dropped him in his ADP, and then he had a monster year. I don't think Trailon Burks has a top 5 fantasy season in him, but I think if you're investing in a Titans wide receiver, Trailon Burks is not 100% rostered in Yahoo, and as we get into waivers later in the show, I do think that's somebody to look at and see, hey, is he out there in the leagues? Because I do think they're going to they need to get him going too. To your point, we're close to this being a rebuilding year in Tennessee, and they needed to see what they have in Burks. Especially
in keeper leagues where you could be stashing him for free at this point. He led the Titans in targets with 6. He tied for the most routes ran with 14. So there's obviously there's going to be a focus to feature him a little bit. All right, Eagles against the Vikings. This was not a very close game. Kirk Cousins, primetime Kirk Cousins. We know what happens there. But more importantly,
I'm so mad at myself because we gave out our bets, and my bets cashed.
I did not.
This is true. You got
half a yard.
I know, by half a yard. You had the Kenneth Gainwell receiving yards at 11.5, and you got killed by the hook there. He stops at 11. I had the under on Kirk Cousins passing yards. I also had the over on Stefon Diggs receiving yards. I went 2 for 2. But you know what? What we should have done is we both should have said, hey, just by the free bingo space is Kirk Cousins to throw an interception. Why we didn't just mention that? Because it is the free bingo space.
Yes.
We overthought it. Anyway, primetime Kirk.
Jalen Hurts, your ride or die.
My fantasy ride or die.
The summer
ride
of Hurts.
Or mother blank and die.
And you know what? In a way, it feels like it kind of came back to bite you because here on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour, we have a fantasy football league. And Matthew's nifty team faced who other than Alexa with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, so I just want you to look at that team. Look at Alexa's team, right? So she has my ride or die. She has a tough game from Juju, but she has Juju. She has Aaron Jones, free Aaron Jones. You guys know it. Aaron Jones was on my preseason love list. DeAndre Swift on my preseason love list. Like Michael Thomas on the preseason love list. So you sit here and look at my loss. I think my guys performed.
You played yourself.
I played myself. And so I just want to point, so Alexa, who's the producer of the show, she's all of our bosses. You look at my team right there, right? By the way, Kyle Pitts just absolutely killed me there.
Give Pitts a chance.
Connor left the game early. I have some injuries there on that team already as well. Goff it's a 2-quarterback league, as you see there. I'm not embarrassed by that team. You know, I mean, Lazard, Shepard, I had to fill in with a couple of guys. Kittle is hurt in that league. I have Kittle in that league as well, so as a flex. Like, I had some injured guys. Here's what I want to say, though. Here's what, before you were a talent at Bleacher Report, Connor, you were a producer, right?
Yes.
And what's the number one job of a producer? Make the talent look good.
Always.
Right? Support your talent. Support your on-air hosts. And so Alexa had the pick before me. Everyone's like, how'd you not get your ride or die? I never got it to, because Alexa literally picked in the first round before I ever got a chance to pick. She drafted Jalen Hurts. So the question is like, so Alexa chose to put that out on the show. She's like, oh yeah, put that in there that I beat Barry in the show. It's fine. You won. Congrats, Alexa. Asked and answered. We'll see. It's a long season. I'm not worried about my 0-2 team. What I will say, because it's a 14-team league, I like my team, and I like my bench there. But what I'd say is that I think what Alexa has done is she's not supported her talent. She's not put her talent in a position to succeed.
It's an inside job.
I'm just saying, fine, you did a good job as a fantasy manager, but as a producer, awful, terrible. And I don't know why she would want to put that out there for America to see, but whatever. Apparently she's got job security or something like that. It's just to me, everyone says that and goes, oh, Barry's 0-2. To me, I say that's Alexa saying like, hey, I'm not doing a good job producing. That's how I look at that. That's just me. It's just me.
When she made the pick, his reaction in the chat in all caps was, "Are you kidding me?" In all caps.
Right. And I think I used a word that started the letter F as well.
Yeah,
before that,
I used an adjective. We're keeping it PG here on the happy hour.
Anyway, but my fantasy ride or die showed up because it is what it is. Thank you. You're welcome, America. You are welcome. Everyone that has Jalen Hurts, you are welcome. They laughed at me. They laughed at me when I went on national TV and I said, this is the guy. Quarterback one in fantasy is within the range of outcomes. And Josh Allen's making that tough. But Jalen Hurts is giving him a run for his money. They thought that was crazy. They thought it was insane that I had him as QB4 overall, that I had him ahead of Brady, that I had him ahead of Lamar Jackson. Through 2 games, Jalen Hurts is looking pretty damn good.
28.9 points per game right now. Obviously, the 3 touchdown night, 2 of them coming on the ground, 57 rushing yards. He still would have finished as QB3 in week 2 if he didn't play in the second half. He had 31 fantasy points in the first half. Targeted 3 different receivers at least 6 times. I mean, Matthew, what more do you want to see from Jalen Hurts right now?
Just to stay healthy.
Yes.
Just to stay healthy. And like, as a favor, could you please take it easy on my Commanders next week? Because I think they're going to just absolutely destroy Washington. By the way, he's now moved up to the 3rd best odds to win MVP at plus 1,000. That's thanks to our friends at BetMGM, new sports betting partner here in the happy hour.
That's
BetMGM.
Right.
Welcome to the show, BetMGM. We appreciate you guys as well. He was 50-1 to win this award in the preseason. He's now at plus 1,000. Anyway, fantasy ride or die. I'm wearing, you know me, I'm a Commanders fan. So for me to wear a jersey.
It means something.
I'm just saying, much love to Jalen Hurts. Congratulations. This is not a fluke. The schedule is ridiculously easy for Jalen Hurts. It's a great offensive line, and the weapons there. A.J. Brown is ridiculous, of course. But Devontae Smith, here's the other thing, is he targeted 3 different receivers at least 6 times. I mean, he's spreading the ball around. He made throws into coverage, just a put your flag in the ground kind of statement performance from Jalen Hurts last night. My fantasy ride or die. You're welcome. I just want to say to everyone, you are welcome except Alexa, at which point I say, to Alexa.
They laughed at this man on television. Let's talk about his weapons, though. Devontae Smith bouncing back from the goose egg game, 7 catches, 80 yards. Most receptions by an Eagles pass catcher in week 2 after 0 in week 1. Most important thing here for me, Barry, is he played 72 of the 73 offensive snaps. He's going to be on the field. Yeah. And if you're on the field in this offense in one of those top 3 roles, you're probably going to find success pretty consistently.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we know about the first-round talent. It's still going to be a run-first offense, and we still know that passing offense goes through A.J. Brown. But if you're sifting around the wide receiver 4 with upside-type guys, I think he has more than most given his skill set and that offense.
All right, Dallas Goddard, another pretty good game here. It's pretty steady Eddie for all these guys. 5 catches, 82 yards, 30-plus routes ran in each of his first 2 games. Has seen at least 4 targets in the first 2 games. He had 6 against Minnesota.
He's a lower-end tight end one who's solid production in weeks in which he scores. You love it. I think people are going to look at this game. To me, the most interesting guy after my guy Jalen, Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, I think, is a sell high. Because people are going to sit here and look like this, right? Like, he had 20 touches, 17 rushes, he caught 3 balls, 86 total yards. You're like, hey, 20 touches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Miles Sanders, he's the guy. We were talking, oh, maybe this is a committee with Gainwell and Boston Scott. And I'm like, no, he's the guy, 20
Run
touches.
heavy offense.
And I'm just like, again, this is sort of what I was talking about with the Bills. If ever there was a game in which, he should have had like a monster game, it's this one, right? I mean, this is a game in which the Philadelphia Eagles won 24-7, and they controlled it from moment one. They were in control of this game from the start. He got 20 touches in a home game against a team they were dominating. And he winds up with what? 11.6 fantasy points in PPR. You think here's Darrell Henderson was running back 20 this week with 10.7. Raheem Mostert running back 20 with 10.9. I mean, borderline top 20 in as ideal a situation as you could have asked, and it was just like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, and maybe if he gets into the end zone, it's a different story. He gets 17, but he's got touchdown competition in Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, and obviously Jalen Hurts.
That's the big one.
That's the big one. He has struggled with health throughout his NFL career. So now you've got a guy that he's always a risk to get injured. He is competing with 3 other ball carriers for touchdowns. To me, when your best case scenario is this, you got 20 touches in a game, you were winning at home by 3 touchdowns, and the best you could do is 11.6 fantasy points. He's fine. But to me, this is the highest value Miles Sanders is ever going to be in a standalone game. They dominated. Hey, he got 20 touches. The touchdowns are coming. That's how I'd sell him if I had him in a league. But there's much more of a bottom than I think a ceiling for Miles Sanders. So given the usage, I would actually try to move off of him because I don't think I'm nervous. I'm nervous about the health and the touchdowns.
Yeah, no, it completely makes sense. He's been injured, every year he's been in the NFL. He misses time. He goes on the injury report. You don't know if he's going to play. And right now everybody's looking at him and going, oh, this is a rock-solid RB2 that you could set and forget every time in the lineup. So maybe there is sell potential there. Let's talk about the Vikings, who, some fantasy players might be hitting the panic button on. I don't think that's necessarily how we feel here. But primetime Kirk Cousins strikes yet again.
Yeah, he was bad. Here's the thing. I would love to overreact to this game, but I'm not going to.
Sure.
I believed in Kirk Cousins in the preseason. I believed in the Vikings offense in the preseason. I'm still there. Again, I didn't like Kirk Cousins in this game. Again, prime time. Felt like this was the Eagles have a really good defense.
They're a really good
all
team.
the talk about Jalen Hurts, and I've been as big a Jalen Hurts fan and promoter over the last couple of years as anyone. But as much as I've talked about that offensive line, the schedule, A.J. Brown acquisition, Jalen Hurts at quarterback, the fact of the matter is very quietly, Howie Roseman has put together an unbelievable defense in Philadelphia. Credit where credit is due. The Eagles are a legit Super Bowl contender. They are. They're in that conversation now. I believe they are. And that defense is amazing. They finally have some linebackers. Slay played out of his mind last night. Cousins in prime time. It is a thing, right? I think he's got he's like 2-17, 2-27.
I think he's 10-18.
I mean, it's whatever the number is. It's brutal. I don't know it off the top of my head. But
Monday Night Football specifically 2-10.
2-10. Right. I think in primetime games, I think it's even worse.
Yeah. 10-18.
10-18 in primetime. Here's the positives. Only one other primetime game.
Where can you find it?
Right. It's the Thanksgiving night game right here on NBC and Peacock. God bless. So you'll be thankful if you have a different quarterback that week. But I'm still in on this. Nothing about this game changes how I feel about the Vikings. Just a bad day at the office. This happens. But I'm still in on Kirk Cousins as a low-end QB1 with tremendous upside. I'm still in on Justin Jefferson. I'm still on Dalvin Cook as a top 5 fantasy tight end. I think if Irv Smith catches that ball and walks in the end zone, I think the narrative is a little bit different here as well. Irv Smith, by the way.
Could have a massive day.
Could have had a massive day. Irv Smith, I think, continues to be interesting. For whatever reason, they weren't looking Adam Thielen's way early. He finally got involved late when the game was sort of out of hand. He's trying to force some stuff there. Better days are ahead for the Minnesota Vikings here as well. This week, the Vikings are playing home, I believe, and they are against. Sorry, why am I? They are home against the Detroit Lions at a 1:00 game.
Shootout.
Shootout. I mean, the Lions have, just gave up whatever. Got, destroyed by Jalen Hurts. They gave up over 300 yards to Carson Wentz and 4 touchdowns. this is going to be a bounce-back game for the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. And if anyone in your league is panicking on any of the Vikings, I would try to acquire low. I'm still in on all of them. Just a bad day at the office.
All right. All right. We're going to take a break. When we get back, you know what time it is. Waiver wire. Who to pick up. Maybe a couple of guys who to drop as well.
Yeah.
We'll be back after this.
Sure hope Alexa has more screenshots of our box score. Hey, where can I find me some more Matthew Berry? It's not enough. Listen, I have opinions, and you need to hear every single one of them. So you can get Matthew Berry content on Peacock and the new NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You can watch the show live at noon, obviously, every single day, but it's always on demand, full episodes and clips. We're available on every major podcast platform. Where we get podcasts, you can always get the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. We air live at noon every single day. Channel 85 on SiriusXM radio, and of course, at NBCSportsEdge.com/Barry, you can read my love-hate, get my weekly rankings. Follow me on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I am at Matthew Berry TMR on all forms of social media, except the Fantasy Life app, where I'm merely at Matthew Berry. You can follow me there. Download that at FantasyLifeApp.com. Connor J. Rogers, Week 3 waiver wire.
Let's do it. Let's start with the running backs.
Sure.
How about the resurgence of Raheem Mostert?
Raheem must start. We want a part of that Dolphins offense, obviously. Seemed like there was kind of a little bit of a changing of the guard. It's a weird one. I'm still not ready to throw the dirt on Chase Edmonds, I believe, but 11 carries, 3 targets in week number 2, which is significantly more than Edmonds. He played 5 more snaps than Chase Edmonds, even in a game in which they were trailing. Look, Mostert has a history, obviously, with Mike McDaniel from the time together in San Francisco. The question with Mostert has never been talent. It's always been health. Well, he's currently healthy, and you want, obviously, as much a piece of that Dolphins offense as you can get. Most of it's already rostered in your league, but Raheem Mostert is out there in 57% of Yahoo leagues. Go get yourself some Raheem Mostert, who even in a part-time role, sharing, I think this is a high-octane enough offense that Mostert is very much flex-worthy along with Chase Edmonds and probably going to get the goal line work.
Yeah, it feels like Mike McDaniel's Coach of the Year mission is play everybody that runs in the 4-2s and 4-3s.
I mean, dude,
it's a ridiculously fast offense.
It is a very fast offense, right? The 4 verts offense is a real thing.
Yeah, DeBomb over and over again for the Dolphins, as long as Tua could throw it. Cardinals, 2 running backs kind of entering the mix here. Benjamin, he is available in 89% of leagues, and Darrell Williams available in 96% of leagues. They are facing the Rams this week, and obviously we are bringing them up because James Conner avoided serious ankle injury, but still obviously banged up on this.
Yeah, left the game early. If he'd stayed in the game, then I'd probably beat Alexa. You know what I mean? That's how Alexa beat me is, whatever, some of my players got injured. It's a cheap win. It's a cheap win. It's nothing she should be proud of bragging about on national television, but here's where we are. I prefer, of these 2 running backs, I prefer Darrell Williams. Right? Yes, he was inactive in week 1, but he played 3 more snaps than Benjamin post Connor being walking out. He also got the goal line stuff. I just think he's got the better chance at filling the goal line touchdown role of James Conner than Benjamin is. So if I'm picking a Cardinals running back, I prefer Darrell Williams. I think both guys would be involved. Benjamin, both games this year, he's had at least 4 targets. He's had over 50 yards from scrimmage, and so I don't know. I think those are both guys. We think it's, despite what we've seen so far, we still think it's still a pretty good offense that'll probably have to lean a little bit more on its running game here. But if you're asking me to rank them, I prefer Williams to Benjamin if you're looking in the Cardinals' backfield. And certainly given Connor's injury history over his career, probably an important add if you have Connor in your league.
Yeah, it feels like Benjamin filling that pass-catching role. Darrell Williams, though, filling the actual running back role, and that would be huge in that offense. All right, moving over to Chicago, who we talked a lot about yesterday. You liked Khalil Herbert a lot this summer, and here's the thing with Khalil Herbert. When they've handed him the ball, he's been productive with his touches, available in 52% of leagues. Is he a guy you consider picking up?
Yeah, I mean, look, Montgomery got the majority of the touches on Sunday night. But to your point about Khalil Herbert, he got 2 starts last year for Montgomery, averaged 18.8 fantasy points per game. He's had over 40 yards from scrimmage in both games this year. Nothing I've seen on the field tells me that Khalil Herbert is not a good player. They've been going with Montgomery, but that offense has a lot of question marks. They've got to figure it out. And so Montgomery, who has been banged up in his career, I think Herbert's more of a stash for the rest of the season. Just a high upside stash. I don't know that you're using him. I don't know that you're using any running back. against any piece of the Bears offense at the moment. But if you were truly desperate in a deeper league, Herbert's probably rostered. But if not, I will say you can run against Houston. I mean, we saw Denver last week. I mean, Javonte Williams just sort of had his way. And so given the struggles of Justin Fields in that passing offense, could the Bears go run heavy this week against the Texans? Maybe. And so deeper league, flex desperation, maybe Herbert works in there. But I think he's more of a high upside stash because if he ever got the job, we expect good things.
All right, looking at Atlanta, Damien Williams on IR kind of opened the door for rookie day 3 pick Tyler Algier, available in 86% of leagues. Only 3 points this week, but 10 rushes, 30 yards, obviously tied for the team lead with those 10 carries. Saw both goal-to-go carries. Does that intrigue you at all in an Atlanta offense that we have our complaints about?
Yeah, we do. Free Kyle Pitts. But they don't want Cordero Patterson touching the ball 20 times a game. They like him a lot, but on the other side of 30, they want to pick their spots with Patterson. And the usage he had in week 1 when Algier was out and Damien Williams left that game early, they don't want that normally. Like that was a circumstantial thing where it's just like, okay, Patterson's the only guy, and they were actually up in that game against the Saints for much of it. So I do think Algier, especially in a game, Falcons are 0-2.
Yep.
Cordero Patterson, who I believe is 31 at this point, maybe 32, but he's definitely at least 31. Patterson's not their future. Algier possibly is. So they need to see what they have in Tyler Algier. So I do think he's somebody that will get some run this week against Seattle, a Seahawks team that you absolutely can run on that we've seen through 2 games here. So if I need somebody this week, I'd actually put him ahead of Khalil Herbert because I think he gets some run this week. But there's also some upside there. It's not a great offense, but yes, there's opportunity there when really right now at the moment it's only Cordero Patterson in his way for significant playing time, and we think Algier's on the field somewhat this week.
All right, in New Orleans, no Alvin Kamara in week 2, out with the ribs injury. Mark Ingram's been banged up, but we know when Kamara doesn't play, and Ingram does, who's available in 70% of leagues, he's usually pretty productive. He had 10 rushes for 60 yards, 2 catches for 3 yards against Tampa Bay. That's not easy.
That's not easy.
That's a good sign.
He had a bad fumble, but other than that, I thought he was one of the few bright spots of the Saints offense that year. He saw 63% of New Orleans' running back carries in week 2. You saw some Tony Jones there, and you saw a couple of guys there. But honestly, I do think if Alvin Kamara is to miss another week, you would like Mark Ingram this week at Carolina.
That's the key.
I mean, again, Carolina shut down Saquon last week. Mm-hmm. So it's not as much of a pushover as you might think. But I do believe Ingram's going to get enough work to be certainly flex viable and borderline running back 2. If they get in close, they're likely going to give it to Mark Ingram to punch it in as well.
All right, the always interesting 49ers backfield. 3rd-round pick Ty Davis-Price is now out multiple weeks with an ankle injury. Obviously, Jeff Wilson is the starter there, but he's missed a lot of time in the past.
Since 2020, he's missed 12 games. He's played 10 or more games only once in his NFL career. Elijah Mitchell's out for 2 months. So Jordan Mason is the next man up. Again, at the moment, Jeff Wilson Jr. is healthy. But given his history and the fact that Shanahan does like to use multiple running backs, Jordan Mason is suddenly somebody that has some value now, but easily could have a lot of value here in a couple of weeks. We certainly don't wish or want to predict injury for Jeff Wilson Jr., but when you miss 12 games since 2020, it's something to point out here. With Jimmy Garoppolo under center, the 49ers are going to be a much more traditional offense, basically what we saw last year, which is they want Jimmy Garoppolo to be a game manager.
That's it.
That's what, which is fine. Execute the offense, set up play action, run the ball, control the clock, play good defense, and hit the passes that you need to. But this isn't going to be like a wide open offense under Jimmy G. It's going to be a run-heavy, conservative offense, which gives value, obviously, to Jeff Wilson Jr., but I think Jordan Mason, now that TDP is out, as well as Elijah Mitchell.
Available in 95% of leagues. San Francisco travels to Denver in week 3. One offense just absolutely struggling right now, the Colts. We know all about that. Nyheim Hines, though, was drafted by a lot of people to be that pass-catching running back, obviously effective in PPR. He only had 5 touches last week, despite Michael Pittman being out. We know the Colts offense could not get anything. They haven't scored in 6 of the 8 quarters they played and didn't score in an overtime.
Yeah, if you dropped Nyheim, I'll put it this way. I'm not advocating to drop Nyheim Hines. I still sort of believe it. But I will say this. I think the upside there is limited. It's Jonathan Taylor. Again, as we've talked about at the top of the show, will there be a couple of good, Isaiah Mackenzie good games or, yes, but just knowing when those come, it's going to be hard to say with Nyheim Hines. He hasn't been involved in the passing game as much as we were led to believe in the preseason here. Let's see what this offense looks like when they get Michael Pittman back. That was a tough game at Jacksonville, obviously, but in a game in which they couldn't get anything generated, they still couldn't get the ball to Nyheim Hines, just 4 receptions, and that one. Playing the Chiefs, you can throw on the Chiefs. I mean, I do think, given how good the Chiefs' defensive line is, I could see some quick dump-offs to Nyheim Hines. All that said, because of the limited upside of Hines, if I'm in a league and you dropped Nyheim Hines, I'm not rushing the waiver wire to try and grab him. So I think you're okay. I'm not advocating dropping him, but if you need a roster spot and he's sitting there, I don't mind it. We always want to give some advice of who do you drop, to pick up all the guys we just recommend. I don't mind Hines, who's rostered in about 70% of leagues. I don't mind letting him go.
The Colts at home against Kansas City. They are touchdown underdogs after their 0-2 start. Not great in Indianapolis. All right, wide receiver waiver wire. Headlined by a lot of rookie wide receivers breaking out this week. It was exciting. We got to start with the Saints. Chris Olave available only in 38% of leagues. The 300 air yards, team high 13 targets in week 2. Chris Olave is here to stay in the Saints offense.
James Winston talked about the fact that he should have had a much bigger day, but it was just on him, meaning Winston, that he didn't. So again, he's not out there in a ton of leagues. He's only available in, as you said, close to 40%, but worth checking to see if he is, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Chris Olave shows up, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
A little different for Garrett Wilson, who's available in 77%. Probably going to be a very popular waiver claim. Did not play more snaps than Elijah Moore or Corey Davis, but that's bound to change after Wilson had 14 targets, a team-high 22% target share this season. The 2 touchdowns, like we talked about yesterday, I thought he even had 2 more left on the field because of Joe Flacco missing him in the end zone. Got to be excited for the future of Garrett Wilson right now, especially if you draft him in Dynasty, but he has redraft league value right now.
Yeah, I mean, at least with Joe Flacco under center, we know Joe Flacco is playing this week. We'll see what happens once Zach Wilson is under center. But, again, this happens. Fantasy drafters sort of ignore draft capital. They go crazy for, he's on the Jets. Trailon Burks is playing some snaps for the 4th team. They ignore all these guys. Chris Olave, people like Jihan Dotson, who we're going to talk about in a second as well. He's going to the Commanders. Commanders aren't going to throw. Again, these guys all went in the top 16, not Burks, but all these guys went in the top 20 overall, all first-round picks. There's a reason for it. We love their college tape, and now teams are finding ways to get them the ball. Do I expect Garrett Wilson to have whatever it was, 102 yards and 2 touchdowns every week? Of course not. Or 14 targets and a furious comeback is what the Jets. No, but do I think he's a really talented guy who's going to be a big part of a team that's going to need to throw much of the year? Obviously, I do.
Yeah, with the Jets coaching staff, it's clicked that he needs to be on the field after he wasn't enough in week 1. All right, our last rookie wide receiver, you mentioned it, Jihan Dotson, available in 57% of leagues. He scored in both games so far out of the gate. He's the clear-cut number 2 there for your Commanders.
He's playing 99% of the snaps of week 2, and this follows, if you listen to me in the preseason at all, talking to a bunch of the people around the Commander staff, they think they have something, Jihan Dotson. They were excited to get Curtis Samuel back, but that was a known entity from their days in Carolina, Ron Rivera and Scott Turner. Jihan Dotson just dominated camp, nothing but rave reviews, and it's been proven out, especially when you think about how bad the Commanders' defense is. And they got to play Philadelphia this week. Now, that's obviously a tough secondary, but, Carson Wentz. I'm just imagining this. Carson Wentz against that defense. Don't make me watch football this weekend. I'm just asking. Just don't make me watch football. That's all I want. Is it my job?
That's what I've been told.
I'm being told it's my job.
Yeah, I told you need to watch football. You need to be here Sunday.
What if I quit?
Well, then it's no longer your job.
Joke's on you. What if I quit? Then I don't have to watch. See, I'm always one step ahead of my producers. There you go. That could be ugly.
Except in fantasy football.
Yeah, thanks. You too? Do I have to still be on this show?
Yes,
I'm going to quit now.
Please.
I'm just quitting now. I'm quitting now. All right. Look,
please
fine.
come back.
No, exactly.
Just me.
Just throw your name on the list. All right. Jihan Dotson's the real deal. I mean, let's just talk about that. Just coming out of Penn State, this was a kid that
he was great.
He just jumps off the screen, and he's proven in the pros. His route running's excellent. He obviously has a nose for the end zone with the 3 touchdowns in 2 games. They're not scared to go to him in big moments. I mean, the touchdowns, by the way, like 2 of the 3 touchdowns came late in games when the Commanders were trailing.
Yeah.
So they put him in high leverage situations as well. 5 or more targets in both games. So this is an offense that is going to continue to have to throw. I'm in on Jihan Dotson.
All right, moving to the veteran wide receiver market. Jacoby Myers doing what he always does. Possession, yards, no touchdowns, available in 65% of leagues. Is Jacoby Myers one of those guys, at least in PPR, that you give a look right now?
If you need a floor guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's no upside there. There's no upside to that offense, but you're just like, I just need to plug a hole. Just give me, like...
7 to 10 points?
Yeah, exactly, right? What's positive here, if you want to talk up Jacoby Myers, is he's got a 30% target share, right? And no other Patriot is above 18%. He's had over 50 yards, over 55 yards, actually, in both games this season, and 2 tough matchups defensively for the Patriots. Wide receiver 25 this past week, 14.5 fantasy points, went 9 for 95. Again, in games in which they're trying to grind it out, Myers seems to be a safety blanket for Mac Jones. Again, he's much more of a floor play than an upside play, but sometimes that's what you need. And so Jacoby Myers is available in 65% of leagues. They're going to have to throw against the Ravens on Sunday.
New England at home against Baltimore. Keep an eye on the health status of their corners and Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. That could be the difference in between playing Jacoby Myers or keeping him on the bench. All right, the Bucs added Cole Beasley this morning.
Yes, they did.
But Russell Gage, obviously, still much more involved than him at the moment. Available in 59% of leagues. We know Mike Evans is suspended. Chris Godwin and Julio Jones both missed week 2. Another status to keep an eye on. Is Russell Gage a guy that maybe you sneak in the flex spot?
Maybe. Like, again, more of a floor play, more of a plug-in, just kind of like I got to plug a hole here. If he doesn't do it this week, then I don't know. The signing of Cole Beasley, I think, is pretty interesting, right? Because that's another slot receiver. In theory, that's a guy that would take snaps away from Russell Gage. Julio is basically running the Rob Gronkowski role in this offense, right? And so, because they didn't use Gronk, they used him some as a tight end, but not all the time, right? And so, and we'll get Godwin and Evans back here in 2 weeks, maybe, hopefully. Certainly Evans off the suspension. Hopefully Godwin is available soon after that. So, I don't know. If there's something to hang your hat on, he led the Buccaneers in routes run last week. But again, feels more of a floor play than an upside play. There are other guys I prefer, but we just want to point out that he is available. And at least this week, should be a lot of targets available for Russell Gage again, given that we don't expect Godwin. We know Mike Evans is suspended, and who knows with Julio.
All right, Cooper Rush's best friend, Noah Brown, with the breakout performance, 5 catches,
Noah Brown,
91 yards, and a touchdown.
Find somebody who looks at you the way that Cooper Rush looks at Noah Brown.
That's all you need in life.
That's right, pretty
now.
much.
Available in 98% of leagues. Now, Michael Gallup's eventual return could impact this. Are you buying in on Noah Brown? I mean, he's out there in every league, every single league right now.
You know what? I kind of am, at least until Gallup shows back up, because I think Cooper Rush clearly has a connection with him. He's had 5 catches and 65 yards or more in both games this year, right? 91 yards last week against the Bengals. He's currently second on the team in targets. Like, Cooper Rush, and credit Coach Garrett, who came on the Fantasy Football pregame show on Sunday morning and said, for all the panic, I'm paraphrasing what Coach Garrett said, but he's like, I like Cooper Rush. We liked him in Dallas. Always prepared. He will run the offense.
He's been there a while.
He's not gonna wow you, but can he run the offense? Can he do it effectively? Can he stay within the system and get you the plays you need? Yes. And in essence, what Coach Garrett said is like, this is not going to be the disaster that everyone thinks it's going to be. And he was 100% right.
Very right.
Cooper Rush moved the ball, moved the offense, and so his number one receiver, it looks like, is Noah Brown. So in a Monday night game against the Giants, the 2-0 undefeated first place Giants. Yeah, I mean,
maybe. Maybe.
Nothing about that secondary really scares you.
Sure.
In New York, it's fine, but I think Noah Brown is a useful piece, if you're looking for somebody that deep.
All right, back to Arizona. As Roto World said, the inevitable Greg Dortch, available in 93% of leagues. He has gone for at least 55 yards in both games this season. Caught a touchdown in week 2 against the Raiders. They have the Rams this week at home. Greg Dortch, kind of been a popular waiver wire pickup now.
Yeah, I mean, again,
desperation Dortch.
More of a desperation Dortch is really what it is. He's basically taken the Rondell Moore role in this offense, and so a lot of stuff near the line of scrimmage, and they try to sort of scheme him open. That Cardinals offense just looks like a mess. Like, I know ultimately at the end of the day they put up fantasy points because they had this furious comeback, and Kyler did Kyler-like things.
Yep, ran around for a long time.
I mean, Sure, on Greg Dortch. I just...
You sound so bothered.
They're playing the Rams this week. I don't have a lot of... Here's what I will say. I don't have a ton of confidence. I don't have a ton of confidence in the Cardinals offense right now, period. I still do think that the pecking order goes Marquise Brown, Zach Ertz, and then maybe Dortch. But, maybe after the running backs too, especially if James Conner's out there. So you're looking at the third or fourth option on an offense that feels broken in a tough matchup against the Rams. But production is production. He's had over 55 yards in both games this season. He's had a lot of receptions. It does feel like they are trying to, again, the way they would use Rondale Moore, they're trying to scheme him open. They're trying to do a few things. So, okay. On Greg Dortch, I feel like I'm sort of talking myself into him, but yeah. Again, I feel similar to him the way I felt like with Russell Gage or some of the other guys we've talked about. Feels like more of a floor play than an upside play.
Another guy
sort of depends on what you need.
Another guy in a similar mold that's available in 89% of leagues. Target monster, but obviously not big plays, more short passes. Sterling Shepard out there. And I know you're a little higher on Shepard.
I like Sterling Shepard. Here's a guy who led the team in targets in week 2, right? He ran the second most routes. He played 90% of the offensive snaps. Remember, he's coming back from a very serious injury. And Sterling Shepard has a history of being a fantasy productive wide receiver. He's right. Health has been the issue with Sterling Shepard. And then you look around New York. Wan'Dale Robinson's been hurt for the first 2 games. Kadarius Toney can't get in the field, and it seems like the coaching staff has lost all confidence in Kadarius Toney. Kenny Golladay, wherefore art thou, Kenny Golladay? And so, Daniel Jones, they're 2-0, and they're it's not pretty.
Training wheels on Daniel Jones
a little bit, right? Yep. But Dayball's got them believing, and so as Sterling Shepard works his way back into health, remember, he wasn't there for much of training camp.
Yep.
He just sort of came in towards the end. A lot of people thought he would start the season on the PUP. So the fact that he's even out there, the fact that he played 90% of the snaps, I just think he's getting healthier every single week. He's the only guy that Daniel Jones seems to trust in the passing game outside of Saquon, not counting him. I just think there's some sneaky appeal for Sterling Shepard because it's clear through 2 games that while the Giants aren't going to be world beaters, they're not going to be the disaster we all thought they are. They're 2-0. Yeah. Again, low-scoring games that they sort of grinded out against Tennessee and Carolina, but 2-0 is 2-0 in the NFL. And so I'm a Dayball believer, and as he's sitting there looking like, what do I got to work with? It's not much. He's got Saquon. And he's got Sterling Shepard, who's available in 89% of leagues. You saw in my team that I lost to, I picked him up, right? By the way, had 12.3 fantasy points last week. He was solid.
Yeah,
he was solid, and I'm going to think he's going to continue to increase, especially when they get in close. Daniel Jones likes to look for him.
And to your point, this Giants staff has showed you they're not really interested in using Kenny Golladay. They're not really interested in using Kadarius Toney. That opens the door for Sterling Shepard, as you said, played 90% the offensive snaps in week 2.
Kadarius Toney, Devontae Parker, Devin Duvernay. I know he scored 3 touchdowns in 2 games, but he's just not getting any targets or snaps. All those guys are guys that I'd be okay dumping if you need to free up a roster spot to grab some of the wide receivers we've talked about.
All right,
or some of the running backs.
Going to take a break. When we come back, an early look at week 3 in the NFL.
You spent the 4th overall pick on a guy to free up Kadarrell Hodge? Give Pitts a chance. How about that? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Trying to win
All we are
games.
asking is give Pitts a chance. That's right. That's me and Kyle Pitts and the John and Yoko. There you go. All we're asking, give Pitts a chance. Give Peace a chance. If you missed that on the Peacock show, if you're just listening, a little meme there, a little graphic, if you will.
Yes.
The boys in the back having
Or
fun with me, putting hair on me.
My parents like to say memes.
Memes.
Yes.
That's what your parents say?
Yeah, they call them memes.
Yeah.
Tough.
Your parents are old.
Yeah, yes, they are. So, all right, give Pitts a chance. Let's talk about some other tight ends to give a chance before we get to week 3. Let's start with Gerald Everett. We've been waiting a long time for this one.
Yeah,
a long time.
We talked about him a little bit in the preseason. We've talked about him we talked about him in week 1 and week 2. Hey, if you need a Kittle replacement, if you're looking for a tight end, we like him. This is an offense that we think is going to score a decent amount of points. Through 2 weeks, he's the 4th best tight end in fantasy. He's had over 50 yards in both games. He's run a route on 63% of pass plays, 6 for 71 against the Chiefs on Thursday night, despite being gassed, despite causing the pick six.
Please take me
Yeah,
out.
exactly. It's still
Water.
Herbert still went to him down the stretch. It's clear that they have some sort of connection. Now, again, last week no Keenan Allen, so that obviously takes away some targets in the middle of the field. But Gerald Everett is legit, and he's available in 43% of Yahoo leagues.
It would not be the Fantasy Football Happy Hour without a mention of Logan Thomas. Available in 86% of leagues.
Yeah, number 82 on the field, number 1 in your heart.
That's right.
LT3 scores a touchdown here. He's had 5 or more targets in both games. Playing against Philadelphia, traditionally tight ends do well against Philadelphia. Irv Smith should have had a monster game last night. So Logan Thomas, who's part of a pass-happy Commanders offense, looking healthy, he should be rostered in a lot more leagues. This is a guy who just 2 years ago was a top 7 fantasy tight end.
Evan Ingram, kind of the thought during free agency. They paid Evan Ingram what to come down to Jacksonville? Team high, 8 targets in week 2. He's got the Chargers this week, available in 79% of leagues.
Well, throughout Doug Peterson's coaching career, his offenses have always revolved around targeting the tight end. So, yes, Ingram, who has struggled with health, but when he's been out there, has shown a lot of talent and ability, seems to have found a home in Jacksonville. Connection with Trevor Lawrence. He's caught 92% of his targets so far this season. You like that. When a quarterback throws it and you know a guy's coming down with it, that gives you more confidence. So going up against the Chargers, you don't love that matchup, but Evan Ingram, if you're digging a little bit deeper, I think is a viable tight end if Everett and Thomas are not available.
All right, time to break out the tiny violin. Is it time to drop Cole Kmet?
It is.
Summer of Kmet's over?
Yeah, it's sadly. It's time to drop Kmet.
Boom.
Because it's unfortunate. But he's not blocked. He's not. He's
just out there.
They're not doing anything with this poor guy. He's athletic, but there's just no part of that Bears offense that gives you any kind of confidence.
All right, quarterbacks, rapid fire. Your Carson Wentz against the Eagles. Is he a streaming option against that good defense?
Boy, that could get really ugly fast. So risk-reward territory here, but just if you're looking to replace Trey Lance for the rest of the season, the fact of the matter is that Carson Wentz has over 40 passing attempts and over 300 passing yards in each of the first 2 games this season. That defense is bad in Washington. He is going to have to continually throw. He's had over 27 fantasy points in both games this season. It's not always going to be pretty, right? And he's played the Jags and the Lions, and now he gets the Eagles. Very different matchup. So I don't love Wentz this week, but I do think season-long volume gets him there. It's not always going to be pretty, but volume gets him there to be a viable top 12-ish fantasy quarterback.
Jared Goff coming off a 4-touchdown performance there at Minnesota. He's available in 78% of leagues. Is this sustainable for Goff?
I think it is.
Okay.
And we've talked about this. When you give Jared Goff a clean pocket, he's fine. And that offensive line in Detroit is giving him a clean pocket. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a thing. He is a force of nature. Add him to Hawkinson, Swift out of the backfield.
Jameson Williams coming
back soon. DJ Shark. Suddenly there's some weapons there in Detroit. They're not scared to let him throw it as well. I prefer Goff this week to Wentz. He's playing at Minnesota. That should be a shootout. But I do think Goff is also viable. The team that I lost to the Alexa team that I lost, that you saw I started Goff, I lost Dak Prescott in that league. That's one of the reasons why I'm owing. To lose a Dak Prescott in a 2-quarterback, 14-team leagues, that's a challenge. And if you need one more guy, how about Joe Flacco? Whatever.
Leads NFL in pass attempts.
He's the starter this week. We'll see what happens week 1. But if you need one weak guy, Joe Flacco's out there against the Bengals team that just got carved up by Cooper Rush.
Carved?
Well, maybe not carved, but the fact of the matter is to your point, he leads the NFL in pass attempts. We'll be back right after this. Give me Stefon Diggs over 75.5 receiving yards. I'm going under on Kirk Cousins passing yards, under 279.5. I'm playing Alexa, and I need Devin Singletary in our show league to beat her.
I had to do you like that.
Well, this is Alexa's last day of the job. So, she's not putting her talent in a good position to succeed. She's not putting me in the best position. She's not making me look good. So it's just it is. It's her swan song. So thank you, Alexa, for all your help. We appreciate that very much. I will write you a nice recommendation letter. All right. But, yeah, hey, we made people some money last night, right? So we like that.
Yes.
Yeah. No, we absolutely did. Well, I'm coming back in that league. Whatever. Losing Dak in a 2-quarterback, 14-team league is tough. I have a good team. I got Jalen Hurts, You know, like it is what it is. That's why he's my ride or die. My guys performed as well. Hey, if you need more waiver wire advice, Denny Carter is live at 1 o'clock.
That's right. If you want more waiver wire advice, and if you only trust analysts with good hair.
Yes, fair.
Right now, youtube.com, NFL and NBC. RotoWorld's Denny Carter is doing a live waiver wire Q&A session. Get the questions in.
You don't have to stay. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Connor and Matthew, peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.